Guys, Mr. Nadal here, and this is our follow-up to yesterday's science lesson when we were on the roof up there. And I was showing you guys on the roof how the trees and things had changed with spring and where spring came from. So today we're going to go down low onto the ground and look for changes in different parts of the ecosystem now that it's spring. So all of it starts with the sun. Okay, so here's our sun. Now, our sun is where all of the ecosystem's energy comes from. And as we talked about, after winter comes spring and summer when different hemispheres are getting more solar energy from the sun. And that sun energy first goes to a producer. So let's link up the sun and that producer. That producer takes sun energy and it produces food for the rest of the ecosystem. That producer then, in this case, gets eaten by a very adorable consumer like this. That consumer eats the energy that the producer got from the sun. So let's link them up. Producer to consumer. That is a initial consumer, a primary consumer. It's the first consumer in this chain that we're making. And they will sometimes get eaten by other consumers, like this terrifying secondary consumer. This secondary consumer will eat this consumer right here. And let's link them together. So now we have a little chain going from sun to producer to primary consumer to secondary consumer. Along with all that, you have many different types of producers. Here's another producer right here. Also using sun energy. That energy goes from the sun to other producers. Then, let's look at a whole nother producer. And so you have that sun energy spreading to different parts of the ecosystem. And you can even have one consumer link to multiple producers. So let's link this consumer, and let's say it can eat both of these producers, but this consumer is low to the ground and it can probably eat these grasses and vines, but it probably can't reach the vegetation up on this producer, on this tree. So let's put in another consumer. Let's say this consumer is even smaller and it can't get to most of this high vine, but it can get to this producer right here. Let's link them too. Now, in addition to that, this consumer right here maybe can also eat this consumer. So we have a big chain right here. Here is another secondary consumer, kind of small. Let's say it's not able to eat this primary consumer, but it is able to eat this one. So let's link them. And what I want you to notice is initially we had this chain, but now we're getting kind of this web where a lot of different things are now mapped together. But at the end, all of these things die. All of these things die. This producer dies, this producer dies, this producer dies, this consumer dies, this consumer dies, this consumer dies, this consumer dies, and all of it gets eaten by decomposers. The decomposers are linked to everything. And so what I want you to notice is that sun energy, it may take different paths to get there, but that sun energy always ends up with these decomposers and links all of them together. Everything gets linked here. And in addition to that, even the decomposers die and they eat each other. Of course, once they decompose, they will then go and feed the producers up here, which will grow. And so you get a little cycle where these decomposers down here, these decomposers will actually go and eat the producers right here. And so this is what we have now. We have a food web, and you can see energy move through the ecosystem all the way down to these decomposers here, who themselves die and feed the producers who get powered by the sun. Energy gets transferred back down over and over. And that should also tell you about ecosystem health. If you have something like a consumer go extinct, all of a sudden the population of other consumers will go up and decomposers. This right here is Chi-Chi, come here. Chi-Chi, come. Chi-Chi. a little tiny consumer, and it is both a primary consumer, because it does eat some vegetation, but it will also eat other animals. And so it's also a secondary consumer. And eventually, sadly, this little animal will die, and it will get decomposed by decomposers. So let's take a little tour and see if we can find more examples of these things. So right here's a producer getting energy from our sun. Here's a kind of big cool one. And this is an artichoke. Now, let's take a look and see, along with those producers, if we can find some decomposers. And decomposers like lots of shade and moisture. And let's see what we can find under these rocks. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, here's lots of decomposers. First we have a slug right here. It is both a consumer and a decomposer. They eat plants. They also eat the waste of decomposed plants and animals. Here we have a lot of baby snails. They're really cute. Baby snail right here. Baby snail, baby snail, baby snail. Those baby snails will eat plants, so they are consumers. They are also decomposers. They'll eat dead organisms. And I don't know if you guys can see this little beetle in here. Nah, looks like we didn't get it. Let's look somewhere else. Let's check what we can find down here. Let's see what we got here. Oh, look. See if you can find any of these guys. Yeah, oh, just there, a little centipede disappeared. That's a consumer. And right here, I think it probably is a baby centipede. It is. So that is a baby consumer who eats other consumers. It's a secondary consumer. It'll eat other small animals. Here, this beetle right here. Oh, actually, that is a baby slug. Another decomposer. And let's see what else we can find. Let's check one more rock. Let's see what we got under here. Let's try this guy here. Oh yeah, oh look at that centipede. Oh, looks like it got away. There's some other beetles right here, which are actually sleeping. And let's try one last rock. Find some more decomposers. Let's see what we got under here. Nope, one more last rock. Oh yeah, there's... So here we have some more little baby snails under there. And if you look, this is a slime mold right here. And that is actually decomposing the soil. Along with that, you also have bacteria, which you can't see. Unless there's a lot of it, it's too small for your naked eye. And that bacteria is the most common decomposer, and I think the most common organism on the entire earth. So those are some parts of our ecosystem. And something else I want to point out too is that the surface of our ecosystem on Earth, most ecosystems are actually aquatic. They are water. And so here are some producers growing from water. And if you see how the water's kind of slimy in here, you can get algae and plankton. Not all of which are plants, yet they're still producers. So not all producers are plants. They also get energy from the sun. A lot of algae, and they still produce energy. All right, let's look at one last thing. Now we found lots of producers, lots of decomposers. We found some small consumers, but I think if we look in this tent where our kids were camping, you might be able to find some larger consumers. And let's look.
A does not work.
Right here, Oh yeah, there's one right there.
Bruh.
This is a much larger
Wait,
consumer. This is both a primary consumer that eats plants and a secondary consumer. It will also eat other animals sometimes. Very rare. I've only ever seen this one example. All right, so that's it. And what I want you to understand is there's the sun right there, and that sun energy gets transferred through all the parts of the ecosystem, all the different parts of the ecosystem, which all eventually die and decomposed and are used again. So your assignment will be in Google Classroom, where you're going to be explaining this topic to me. Say goodbye to the sun, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.